Canada is basically run by the big two provinces of Ontario and Quebec. And Alberta, for 50 years, has seen a lot of its oil money move east. And so there is a separatist movement. It's not as strong as it was in Western Australia in the 1930s, but it's very strong. There's a separatist party, and she is definitely picking a fight with Trudeau. In the last 3 federal elections, the Liberal Party, I don't think they've won a single seat. So the left-wing Liberal Justin Trudeau, they don't win any seats in Alberta. They might have won one. Right in neighboring Saskatchewan, they don't win any. So this is the sort of part, if you could imagine in Alberta, or sort of in Australia, a state where one party doesn't win any seats at all, election after election after election. That's Canada. So the Conservatives win in Alberta and Saskatchewan, and to a large extent Manitoba. They lose out east, and Ontario just decides elections. But she's angry, and she's tapped into it, and she's prepared to fight for stuff. And my bet is that Trudeau will roll over on a lot of things because he doesn't want to have massive fights with her.
Oh, really? So does she genuinely represent the sort of secessionist sentiments in Alberta? Is that as widespread as it seems?
Some of those. There is a separatist party. So in Alberta, the capital city that has all the civil servants, Edmonton, that votes left for a party called the NDP. And all of the non-urban areas vote Conservative or separatist, as in leave Canada. And Calgary, the second city, which has all the oil and gas companies, it sort of splits. So Alberta, for the last 5 decades, has been a very conservative place. A couple elections ago, the left-wing NDP won for one term. There's an election coming up, I think, in middle of next year in Alberta. But we're seeing this trend in Canada where the right of center party is actually choosing leaders who actually want to fight on culture. They want to fight on net zero. And I think the difference with Australia is they have moved away from letting the party room pick the leader. And that's happened in Britain. We are left with a system that used to work fine up until 50 years ago. But the professional class of politicians in this country simply does not represent their core voters. And we saw this at CPAC. These people are so out of touch. They think that they did a good job. The Liberal Party did a good job during the pandemic response. I mean, this was the most brutal, despotic, big spending, high taxing, disgraceful performance, largely brought to you by the Liberal Party of Australia. So we would not be getting leaders like this if we had a system where the party base, the paid up members, were choosing the leader. It's a big problem.
Well, the Liberal Party is saying these days that the plebiscites that they organise to select among the members in an electorate to select candidates for that electorate solves that problem. What's your response to that?
Well, it didn't solve the problem when Mr. Morrison and Mr. Hawke refused to show up for a year. They couldn't find the time for a year and a half to show up and validate the meeting. I mean, come on. Mr. Hawke is a disgrace. And I mean, I know he's still in Parliament and he's trying to mend fences, but he and Mr. Morrison on that front in New South Wales were awful. They have fought tooth and nail in New South Wales to stop the kind of half-hearted reforms that Tony Abbott brought in. So really, it doesn't solve the problem.
Yeah.
It goes some way to ameliorating it a little. But I think we need a system where the party, if we had a system in Australia where the party room didn't get the last word on the leader, then Mr. Turnbull would never have become leader. He would never have taken out Abbott.